All right, everybody, strap in because we're going to try to unpack some really heavy stuff today.
Yeah, definitely.
We are talking about some really disturbing accusations against Sean Diddy Combs.
Yeah.
And I got to say, reading this People magazine article that came out beginning of October, it's a lot.
It is.
And we're gonna try to really get into it and understand, what we know, what we don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's dive in.
Yeah, this is going to be a deep dive for sure.
Yeah.
Because like you said, it's not just, we're not talking about music charts or anything like that. This is serious stuff. And like you said, it spans decades, these allegations. So
Yeah, so one of the things that I found so disturbing right off the bat was that one of the accusers was 9 years old
a lot, yeah.
at the time
9 years old.
of the alleged abuse.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that's really kind of caught everyone's attention. It's just, it really highlights the power dynamics at play here.
And this allegedly took place at Bad Boy Records, his record label.
Right, in New York City.
In New York City. And this boy was there for an audition.
Of course! I mean, hoping for that shot at a record deal.
Right, exactly.
And then you have, someone like Diddy, who is obviously a huge name in the music industry.
Right, and it's 120 individuals.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Including 25 minors.
It's not just one or two people. Right.
Who are alleging abuse.
Yeah, alleging sexual assault and abuse by Combs. And this attorney, Tony Buzbee, who's representing these individuals, he's alleging this decades-long pattern of behavior.
And this is where, I start to get a little lost in the weeds, legally speaking.
Sure.
So these are civil claims.
Right.
Not criminal charges. What's the difference?
Okay, so basically in the simplest terms, a criminal case is when the government brings charges against someone for breaking the law. They have to prove that they're guilty beyond a reasonable doubt.
Right.
Civil cases, on the other hand, that's about resolving disputes between individuals or entities, and the burden of proof is lower. It's a preponderance of the evidence.
Okay.
So very different.
So these 120 individuals are bringing civil claims against him, but he has been criminally charged for these particular allegations.
That's right. At least not yet. And that's an important distinction because we do have to remember that civil lawsuits can have serious consequences too.
Like what?
You're talking reputation, you're talking, there could be substantial financial settlements that come out of this.
Right.
And, it's hard to say, but it could even influence future criminal investigations. You never know.
And it's not like he's, Mr. Clean when it comes to the law right now.
Well, that's the thing, right? This is all coming out, and it's kind of happening at the same time that he's already dealing with some very serious federal charges from just this past September.
Yeah, we're talking racketeering, conspiracy, sex trafficking. This is not, like you said, this is not just a parking ticket. This is...
No, absolutely not. And I think, when you see these kinds of charges, it kind of raises the question of, is there a bigger picture here? Is this potentially, part of a larger pattern of behavior?
So how could these possibly be related?
Yeah.
The federal charges and these abuse accusations?
So, when we talk about racketeering conspiracy, you're talking about someone who is engaging in illegal activity repeatedly as part of an organization.
Okay.
And then you add in the sex trafficking charges.
Yeah.
And it starts to paint a picture of someone who might be exploiting others, for their own personal gain.
Right.
Now, we don't know for sure if these abuse claims are going to be directly tied to those federal charges.
Right.
But you better bet it's something investigators are going to be looking into.
So this could actually, these allegations, if they turn out to be credible, could bolster the existing federal case against him.
Potentially. Yeah. Like you find one piece of a puzzle and it doesn't really tell you much, but then you find another piece and another piece and it starts to make more sense.
So, with all this swirling around him, what has he said? Is he just denying everything?
Yeah, so far, yeah, pretty much.
Right.
His attorney, Erica Wolf, she gave a statement to People magazine called "The Accusations False, Defamatory," said Combs maintains his innocence and that he is looking forward to clearing his name in court.
So he's ready to fight this on two fronts.
Looks like it, yeah.
The civil suits and the federal charges.
Right. And those are two very different beasts, legally speaking.
So what does that even look like? Give me like the layman's terms version. What's the process?
Well, for starters, it's going to be a long process.
Okay.
For the civil cases, you're looking at investigations, depositions, a lot of legal back and forth probably before it even gets close to a courtroom.
Right.
And you got to figure Combs' lawyers are going to try to discredit the accusers.
Sure.
Go after their credibility, see if they can find holes in their stories, that kind of thing.
And then the federal side?
Oh, that's a whole other animal, right?
Mm-hmm.
The prosecution, they have to present enough evidence to convince a jury that he's guilty beyond a reasonable doubt,
Right.
which is a very high bar to clear.
So vindicate himself, which is what his attorney said he wants to do.
Right.
That means going to trial for both of these.
Potentially, yeah, but, there's always a chance that one or both could get settled out of court. You never know.
So,
It's happened before, it'll happen again.
you said earlier that sometimes civil cases can impact criminal investigations. How does that work?
So sometimes evidence that comes out in a civil trial can actually be used in a criminal case.
Oh, interesting.
Like, say, a witness says one thing under oath in a civil case, and then later on, in a criminal case, they tell a different story.
Gotcha.
That could be used against them.
Okay.
Or, sometimes new evidence pops up during the civil discovery process, and that might get shared with prosecutors.
So it's a ripple effect.
Yeah, kind of. And, we're talking about some really serious stuff here. Even if he doesn't get convicted, in a court of law.
Right.
Just the fact that these accusations are out there, it could have a lasting impact.
Yeah, it makes you think about, like, Harvey Weinstein, for example.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, the accusations against him totally changed everything, even before he was ever convicted of anything.
Right. It sparked a whole movement.
Yeah.
And it had a huge impact on Hollywood.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes to show, I think, how accusations like this,
Yeah.
especially when there are this many accusers,
Right. Over such a long period of time.
you can really change how the public views someone.
Oh, for sure. And we have to remember, the court of public opinion, that's a whole different ballgame than a court of law. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People are going to form opinions based on what they hear. And a lot of times that information, it's not complete. It's biased,
So you've got this legal battle going on, but then you've also got this other thing happening, in the media and just like the court of public opinion.
Oh, yeah. It's a PR nightmare. I mean, there's no other way to put it.
And it's not just, he's not just a musician.
No, he's a brand.
Right. He's got his business.
He's a businessman.
Yeah.
He's an icon.
Yeah. So all of this, regardless of what happens legally, could have a real impact on everything.
Oh, without a doubt.
It makes you think about the music industry as a whole.
Yeah.
You've got these young artists. They're trying to make it. They're, I'm sure, eager to please.
Oh, absolutely. They want that break. Yeah.
And then you have these powerful figures at the labels, the producers, the executives.
Right. And that's where things can get, I don't know, complicated.
And potentially dangerous.
Yeah. If you don't have the right safeguards in place, yeah, it's a recipe for potential abuse.
So, I mean, what can we do while we wait for all of this to play out legally?
Well, I think the first thing is we have to listen to survivors.
Yeah.
We have to believe them.
It can't just be, they're just doing it for the money or whatever.
Right, because that happens way too often.
Yeah.
We need to create a space where people feel safe coming forward.
Right.
They need to know that they will be supported.
And it's not just believing survivors.
Right.
It's about holding, the people in power accountable.
Exactly. You can't just, sweep it under the rug and hope it goes away.
Right, because it's not just about Diddy.
No, it's so much bigger than that.
This is a systemic problem, right?
100%.
It happens everywhere, not just the music industry.
Everywhere, you're right.
But it does seem like maybe the music industry is, I don't know, maybe more vulnerable to it because of,
the power dynamic.
the power dynamics.
And just, it's a business built on, larger than life figures.
Right, exactly.
So, yeah, it's definitely something that needs to be addressed.
And, we do have to remember that these are accusations.
Right.
He's innocent until proven guilty.
Absolutely. We can't jump to conclusions.
Right.
The legal process needs to play out. We have to respect due process.
Of course. But we also can't ignore the stories of these accusers.
Exactly. They deserve to be heard.
Yeah.
They deserve to be taken seriously.
So where do we go from here?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is. It's a lot. And I think it's easy to get caught up in the,
the legal stuff.
Yeah, the legal back and forth and he said, she said.
Right.
But what really stuck with me, I think, is what you said earlier about believing survivors. Because this is bigger than Diddy, right?
100%. This is a pattern we see over and over again.
Yeah.
And it's not just in entertainment, it's everywhere. Politics, business, even in our own personal lives, There's this tendency, I think, to give the benefit of the doubt to people who have power, money, influence, and then the people who are, marginalized or less powerful.
Yeah.
They really struggle to be heard.
And it feels like the music industry, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but it feels like they're particularly vulnerable to this.
I think you might be right. Yeah. I mean, you've got...
Because you have these young artists.
Yeah, they're hungry.
They're eager to please. They want that break.
Right, and they're interacting with these really powerful people, the executives, the producers, and I mean, if you don't have the right systems in place to protect people, it can get out of hand really easily.
So, I mean, are we just supposed to not listen to music anymore? I mean, what can we do?
No, it's not about that. It's about, I think, being aware of the power dynamics, having these conversations, and empowering people to speak up. If they see something happening that's not right, they shouldn't be afraid to say something.
And we have to remember that Diddy, he's innocent until proven guilty.
That's right. We can't forget that. We can't just, decide he's guilty because of what we read in the news.
Right. The legal process has to play out.
Exactly.
But we also can't, just ignore all of these accusations.
The stories are out there.
Yeah.
And they deserve to be heard. They deserve to be taken seriously.
So, I mean, I guess my question is, where do we go from here? What do we do with all of this?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I don't know that there's an easy answer. I think it starts with awareness,
Okay.
We have to acknowledge that this is a problem.
Yeah.
And then we have to be willing to have these uncomfortable conversations.
Because it's not going to go away on its own.
Exactly. And we have to support survivors. We have to believe them, and we have to hold people accountable for their actions.
Well said. Well said. This has been...
it's heavy stuff.
It is. But I really appreciate you, taking the time to break all of this down with me.
Of course. Anytime.
And to everyone listening, this is something that we all need to be talking about.
Absolutely.
So thank you for taking this deep dive with us. And let's keep the conversation going.
Let's do it.
All right. Thanks again.